Okay, are we ready to go?
You're rolling. Go ahead, please.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Thel.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Make a motion we approve the agenda for this evening.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appearances and acknowledgements. Acknowledge the application for temporary alcohol license and set a date of hearing for the Madison Fire Department. Do you want to address that one?
Sure, Randy's not here, but basically this is for their fireman's dance,
Annual Fireman's Dance.
the annual dance, so.
Annual process. We are working with the Public Assurance Alliance too. We do get some special event coverage insurance on this. We will be working with them on that. Tonight is the acknowledgement and set date of hearing. We'll make the publication. Randy will be back here in 2 weeks to answer any questions.
March 11th.
March 11th.
March 11th. 3 weeks. 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
Make a motion to acknowledge application for temporary alcohol license, set date of hearing for March 11th for the Madison Fire Department.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, acknowledge the letters from South Dakota State Historical Society and set a date of hearing on their request for demolition of 705 and 709 North Egan Avenue. And I'm going to ask Chad, did you want to address this one?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. First, I'll outline what's included in the agenda packet. Said letters that you had referenced, dated February 11th, 2019, from the SHPO to Ryan Haig, building official for the City of Madison, works in my office. One letter each for 705 North Egan Avenue and 709 North Egan Avenue, and then also a draft of a notice for public hearing that should you set the hearing date for March 11th, as we anticipate here with this item, will go in the paper. And just a bit of background is, I'll give you some background. Sometime before February 7th, Brookings Built Green filled out an application for demolition of the properties at 705 North Egan Avenue and a separate permit for 709 North Egan Avenue to request that a building permit in which they included demolition. We had provided notice to the State Historic Preservation Office at that time, as is our understanding of the requirements of this laws and administrative rules. And Miss Kate Nelson provided these letters that I referenced and asked for additional information from the city, and we in turn forwarded that request to the applicant for the building permit / demo permit, and they are in the process of providing those, and immediately we'll forward them, or have forwarded them on to, we received them, and we'll attach them to the demo application, and then we'll also forward them to SHPO as they've requested. The last part of, and primarily why this is on the agenda is the State Historic Preservation Office has asked that the city obtain and consider the views of the affected and interested parties, and to provide copies of any written views. And so in coordination with Mr. Haig, Ms. Nelson, we've talked to her, and some with our attorney as well, and others, we have thought that perhaps the best way to collect input on this demolition permit only, not a construction at this point in time, was to schedule a public hearing. And that's what you see in that notice. Furthermore, in that notice, we had requests that parties would be able to send written comments by March 7th. Those may or may not be included in the agenda packet at that time. And certainly at the hearing, people can also talk, of course, at the 11th, on the 11th, or they can, or I suspect the commission will give them some time after that hearing to provide some written comments, so we can, in a timely manner, forward those also to the State Historic Preservation Office. So that is most particularly why this is on the agenda. One other bit of information is we don't have any local ordinances that I'm aware of nor is there anything in state statutes or administrative rules that govern how we will accomplish this last bullet point of collecting public input. So again, in coordination with several different parties and some conversations, we thought perhaps a public hearing would be the best. Nor is there any information in there as that the applicant should be at this hearing today, or, excuse me, this agenda item today, nor in the future. But I would be interested to see if that is something the commission's interested in, if they want me to ask them to attend. They did indicate they would, whatever might be most beneficial. And also, our building permit applications are on file, and anybody can come and inspect those and review those as is indicated in the notice.
I may have missed it, and I apologize if I'm saying something you already said, but I do want to be clear that the hearing that we're having regarding demolition is not statutorily required. It's not a requirement.
Right.
And there's no formal action that needs to be taken by this body after a hearing. You're used to having a hearing and then having to do something. This is the opportunity to gather public comment, public information. And as Chad very correctly put, we're going to pass that on to historical preservation. But it's a vehicle through which we can gather that information. So while it's not required, it may be helpful. And it's a place for us to take that information in a somewhat organized fashion and then pass that on to historical preservation. So it's a little different. It's a little different than what we would normally do with a hearing. It's normally after a hearing we're looking to you folks to do something.
Right.
We're not here. It's an information collecting process, and then we'll make sure that information gets passed on to historical preservation.
We're just taking care of this last bullet point.
Correct. It's a way to do it, and I think it's a good way to do it. I've had input into it, and I've been an advocate of the hearing. But certainly not admonishing the commission in advance, but I would also have you start thinking about the fact that this isn't a hearing on anything else.
Right.
And sometimes someone may show up and want it to be about something else, but it's not. It's about the demolition, and that's really what we should be listening to at the hearing, and that's the information that we should be passing on. But it's not a hearing where we're trying to decide what can be built, when it can be built, how it can be built. That's not what this is about. This will be about the public's feelings about these two properties potentially being demolished in a historical area. That's what it's about.
Just a point, our agenda says the property is 705 and 709. The document that we got from them only points to 705.
There's
two
two of them.
There's one further down.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two.
This property has
One
been
for
called
each.
into question, both these properties biased before, so I would certainly support some type of hearing, a listening session, whatever you want to call it. I think we had significant interest in this before, and I think that will arise again, so it's an opportunity for us to be, not just the landowners, but the whole concept of historical preservation is at the forefront here, so I don't know if we have to, when we want to do that, what we need to move, I would support that and ask that we do that, have some type of public input session.
March 11th
It's
work
set
for you?
for March 11th.
That'd be fine with me.
Are you, go ahead. No.
I just had one other question on the hearing itself, and so technically we can only talk about the demolition. We can't ask them what their future plans are, that's future progressing, and we can't ask them that.
There are multiple potential legal issues with letting this hearing get too far afield.
Okay.
And so I think we, you, as a commission, need to do a good job of controlling the purpose and the tenor of the meeting in terms of its content.
Okay.
And you're right. We shouldn't be asking, nor should there be a lot of testimony at this time about future plans and future statements. We've been through that actually already once with this group,
Right.
and we really tried to tailor that. So this is about demolishing something in a historical district. This is not about, well, what's going to be there and when's it going to go there. That's not what this is about. This is about should these structures come down in a historical district.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you gonna send out letters to the people within 150 feet?
Good question, Commissioner Thill. No, there's no local ordinance that describes the requirement to do that. But what we will do is look back in our records from the parties that attended some of the other meetings, if their names are in those minutes, and send a copy of the notice. The notice will be in the paper. On many statutory notice requirement items, there's multiple ways notice can be served, one of which most commonly is through the paper, and so we're going to rely on that. Most specifically, we don't want to get into I dare say it, we don't want to get into a position where we miss somebody. We're not required to do it.
I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think it's a really good question.
Yeah, and it's an interesting issue, because we're not required to have the hearing, so then how are we going to notice? And, it was my suggestion, among others, to put it in the paper. I mean, that's how the law provides for a lot of notice on hearings and other issues. So we'll certainly start there, and we'll make it as public as we can by putting it in the paper.
That's fine.
And I will say at this point in that I have visited personally with each of the neighbors and made them aware of this is coming forward, so that they were aware and it was not, something surprise. So. Other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to acknowledge?
I'll make a motion that we do acknowledge both letters from the South Dakota State Historical Society, set a date of hearing for March 11th, 5:30 or thereabouts, on the demolition of 705 and 709 North Egan Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants to remove from the consent calendar?
If not, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business, authorize the mayor to sign the revised engagement letters, Shane Fish and Company Incorporated, for the 2018 annual report and audit services. And Jen, I'll ask you to address this one.
Yes, please note your agenda cover says revised. You will remember doing this back on November 13th of 2018. I've got commission action here to engage Shane Fish and Company to do the 18 annual report and audit services for a total of $16,300. Okay, what has happened since is way at the end of 2018, we took in more federal funds than I anticipated getting in one fiscal year. There is a special audit that you need to have. It is called a single audit. It's actually part of the OMB uniform guidance. If you take in more than $750,000 worth of federal funds, you are subject to this new federal audit. Okay? We now have to do that. Therefore, Shane Fish sent me new engagement letters. Our new total, this will cost us an additional $1,000, so our new total will be $17,300. Does require signatures. That's why I brought it back to you this evening.
And just point of clarification, that $750,000 is reimbursement for monies we had to spend up front on projects at the airport.
Some of it, yes.
Some of it.
So our total that we did take in 2018 was $772,000. About $445,000 of that was for airport. The other was a FEMA grant for the fire department. You will remember all that SCBA business and that FEMA grant, so that was a large chunk of it this year. Still federal dollars, so subject to the $750,000 bottom line.
Is that how all the airport projects work? We front the money and then get reimbursed?
That we do.
Yes.
What are we going to do with all
There's a
that
whole
money when it comes
drawdown type
back?
process that we go through within our office.
Questions at all? Not? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion we authorize the mayor to sign the revised engagement letter Shane Fish, is that how they say that?
Shane Fish.
Shane Fish and Company for the 2018 annual report and audit services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 2, authorize the mayor to sign the agency agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation, financial reimbursements on airport projects that include FAA funding. And again, I'll ask Jen or Chad if you want to address that. I believe that's a Jen question.
Okay. Or our friend Jake. Can Jake hop in here too?
Yes, absolutely.
And I can,
I'm not as involved with that one as you guys are.
I can-
Okay.
The next one I am.
maybe I'll talk about it a little bit,
Go
and you
ahead.
can piggyback on. I see
Yep.
the letter, February 8th, from Jennifer Bohm to Jen Eimers, our finance officer here. And as the letter does a pretty good job in explaining it. Basically, along the lines of what Commissioner Corbin had just commented on, is this is a reimbursement process, so we front the payment to the contractor and then we get reimbursed. It appears that the DOT wants to have a blanket agreement, if you will, to document that process, among other things. And so that's what this agreement is really for. There's a, as you all have seen before, for each particular project, the state's portion of the reimbursement for any particular project, there's a separate project-specific agreement, whereas this is again, this is a general overarching agreement for just the federal funds only. So that's my understanding. Do you have anything to add, Jen?
Only that we have done this for a number of years. This is not a change. I think they just made it more of a formal agreement.
Questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement, South Dakota Department of Transportation, financial reimbursement on the airport project, including the FAA funding.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with Catermas, Lee, and Jackson, KLJ, for AIP 3-46-0029-017-2019, rehabilitate and remark runway 1523 and turnarounds. And this is our concrete runway. Jake?
Yeah, I may say a few words if I could. Mr. Jake Braunagel is here from KLJ to talk about that, and I understand Brian Jacobson, who works with Mr. Braunagel, was at the airport board meeting
He
last
called
Tuesday,
in.
called in and talked about this, and at such meeting, I understand that I think Commissioner Thill had asked that they come and talk about this before the commission, but I can talk about it a little bit at this point. I was not at the airport board meeting, but this is an item that was first discussed November 11th or so, 12th, where a pre-application checklist was prepared and approved by the city commission for this. And this is, as it sounds, the rehabilitation, concrete joints or any concrete spalls at the corners of joints, and then pavement marking repairs is really what this is. It had been planned in the CIP or anticipated in the airport CIP for years past as sort of a statewide project, but my understanding and recollection is that the DOT doesn't have a statewide contract to this scope going on this year, so they asked us to enter into this project, if you will, directly. And so that's why this came up, starting the discussion in November, and then it's on for right now, and this work will be done in this summer. So at that, if you fill in any blanks, please, Jake, that would be great.
Thanks, Commission, for having me tonight. And I guess to echo Chad, basically the SDDOT Aeronautics has a maintenance program that they do run, and they didn't have any large concrete projects going this year. So this project has been carried forward from the year past, and traditionally with your non-primary entitlements you receive, you wouldn't have had enough funding to secure this project this year with FAA federal funds, but the state has committed some additional funds knowing the need for the project, as long as the bids come in fairly close to estimated costs. So basically what we are presenting tonight is the upfront the designing, just preparing the bidding package. It will have to be bid per state law because of the price tag on it. And then, so we'll do the design, the bidding specifications package, and bid it out. And then once that comes in, we'll submit for your SDR federal grant and move forward with construction this year. So the only real difference between this contract and some of them that we do in the past is usually we do a design contract and then submit a grant application right away. In this case, the design contract's pretty small. It's too small for even a federal grant. So basically, we'll be asking the city to go forward with this contract so that we can get bids to submit the grant, essentially. So that's what we're looking at here tonight. And as I think Chad put in, I believe it's in the packet, the SDDOT Aeronautics Commission actually does review fees also for their clients around the state, and they have overviewed our fee and approved it at the SDDOT level. So tonight we're just asking that the commission consider the contract for the design and bidding of $16,107.99. And I can take any questions.
So then this 16,000 then comes from us rather than the state this year then?
Well, right away it will, but then it will get included in the grant.
For
application
reimbursement.
For reimbursement.
Okay.
It just will come a little later than it normally does. Usually that kind of goes right into a grant, rolled in directly, but this is, since we're doing design and construction in 1 year, that's kind of how the process has to work, because we got to get the bids in hand first before we can submit our grant application for the federal funds.
Got it.
Are we in any jeopardy by this of not getting reimbursed?
I guess there's a possibility if the bids came in really high that there may not be additional funding through the state that can cover that quantity, but I would say then it would get rebid the next year, which would be another bidding cycle, but there is potential. I don't foresee it being an issue, but.
Where's the money come from?
That's fair.
Right now, it would come from just the cash balance. We do have an airport improvement reserve that we have not tapped for a number of years.
How much is in there?
200?
You have to reel that right off. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But I just, if we fronted this ourselves and it happened that we didn't get reimbursed and we had to go another year, would we be eligible for both years of reimbursement, or?
Yeah, it'll still be eligible.
It'd still be in the budget.
Yeah.
318 is what is in that reserve right
Thank you.
now.
And the design shouldn't change over that year.
No, it'd just be simply putting
In
the
other words,
bidding
your-
package together, updating the front end specifications, new dates and such.
Yep.
They painting the big numbers on the runways?
They actually the runway has a pretty dark coat of paint right now. So as of right now, it's just the taxi lanes, the hand taxi lanes that are going to be removed.
Any risk we'd have to renumber the runways?
Renumber them.
Like give them a different
Yeah,
number?
not with this project. Anyways, that would be a far bigger discussion. I hope we don't have to go down that road.
There's a reason why they're called 15-23.
Magnetic North's moving.
It is. Depends how far that moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The plane's landing and going off the runway.
I asked that question at faith that you darned us to get, grant. We're not cash poor, but it's
I completely
some
understand.
risk. We have some major
Fair
projects
question.
going on, and funding those adequately is a critical piece for us.
I agree.
But why should we have some money set aside when we can use that for funding this at this point?
We could if necessary. I think
Necessary.
we'll rely and assume that the funding will come through.
I don't really see an issue. I mean, there's always that outside chance that your bids come in really high compared to estimate, but I really don't see an issue. We've had quite a few different projects around the area, similar sort of bid prices should be pretty good. So.
What is the estimated cost, may I ask?
So the total for the grant actually is estimated. This was from the pre-application, $350,000 for the entire grant, with the design and bidding services being approximately $17,000. As you see, there's $16,107 actually, and then construction and construction administration totaling about $330,000. costs in there. We have to do FA project closeout on every grant that we get. And then some administration costs we include for advertising for bids and such other small expenses. So the total is $150,000 projected, estimated. And then also just be aware we will take the federal funds for the parallel taxpayer project.
We're already
We'll be
ready.
required to
Yep,
take
thank
on
you.
a new
Right.
And this is between the state and the feds, it's 95% reimbursed.
Yeah,
With
so this
the
would be
grant.
like a traditional federal grant. That would be a 5% commitment locally. After
95, 90 and 5 and 5.
90 and 5, and ours is 5.
five.
Yes.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
So,
I'll make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign professional services agreement with KLJ for the rehabilitation remark of runway 15-23 and turnarounds, not to exceed 16,500, or do you want to go 17,000?
I would say 17.
Okay, not to exceed 17,000, I think I'm okay with that as well, out of the general cash balance.
Thank you.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Authorize-
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks.
Travel safe going home when you head back. Authorize the mayor to sign the engineer's statement of final completion and owner's acceptance of contract construction, Carey and Peterson Powerline Contracting, LLC, 2018 Electric Distribution Conversion Project. Brad or Chad, which one would like to speak first?
I can take care of it. This is just a final project closeout for the normal upgrade project. It's just more standard paperwork, if you will, saying that we accept the work as it was done this year. Nothing unusual. And the project came to a close. They were a little bit behind schedule. And in the end, we did assess some liquidated damages for the time that they were behind schedule. They had also done some extra work, and that offset the cost of that. So in the end, it was virtually no cost change out at the end. So anyway, it was all within the boundaries of our original scope. So we're good to go. We can close it out.
And if I may, this is kind of Jen's request, these require signatures. I kind of like them to come back to this group just for an update on these larger projects so you can kind of see where we're at.
Yeah.
And that the group is comfortable closing them out. So if you'll note on this particular page, you'll see that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is just contractors. So the contractor's expense was the $209,293.
Yes.
We've got a project code. We project code all these conversion projects now. And as of to date, the total project is $575,156.
And that'd be with all the materials and
Exactly, that we bid the materials differently. These projects are twofold.
yes.
Sounds good.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign engineer's statement of final completion and owner's acceptance of contract construction, Carey and Peterson Powerline Contracting, LLC, 2018 Electric Distribution Conversion Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
With those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, Resolution 2019-03, approve a preliminary plat, Lakeview Industrial Park. And Chad, I'll ask you to address this one, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, Commission. This is the preliminary plat as you had indicated, for the preliminary plat for the Lakeview Industrial Park. Included in your agenda packet is resolution number 2019-03 and the 4 pages of what the subdivision regulations call out as a preliminary plat. It's common. It looks like a master plan. It's often referred to as a master plan, but it shows the cover sheet. It shows a lot layout. It shows a drainage and grading plan, and then the last one is a proposed utility plan. This is This original preliminary plat was reviewed in about 2008, prepared by LAIC. As 10, 11 years has passed since then, and so there's been a fair amount of changes in the previous version, and that's why this is back before you. It was before the Planning Commission on February 12th, and they recommended approval of the preliminary plat, as do I. You'll note that is the signatures on the cover sheet, and also it's signed by the owner. The chairman of the LAIC board there signed it as well. With that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. It's a normal process that we go through as required in the subdivision regulations during the land development process. Typically, the next step would be for a developer to install infrastructure or to actually plat out some lots. And there's a lot of things in between here and now, but here and then that will have to happen, and some may come before you, some may not need to, as long as they follow the ordinances, but this is a necessary step for the ordinances.
And one of the notable changes on here is the location that was previously chosen for a future water tower was relocated to a different location on here. Were there any other major changes in that from the previous?
There was some different streets that were contemplated in the previous one. There was a 14th Street on the north side of Tract 1 that is not being shown. There was also a half street on the quarter line at the very southwest part of this. The ordinance talks about discouraging half streets to be dedicated for a number of reasons. I believe the intent of that is. Then there's some other slight changes where you see John Deere Circle going to a dead end, and with a cul-de-sac that originally had shown extending all the way to the section line on the east. And so there's been a few changes, just enough that I thought it would appropriate to let the Planning Commission review it again, and then you as well. Many of these lots have already been sold and developed, as you're aware. Global Polymer being one. Of course, John Deere, as we talked about, the detention pond in the very southeast corner has been constructed. Yeah, so there's been a few changes.
Very good. Very good. Other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-03, approve a preliminary plat, Lakeview Industrial Park Edition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jen, did we have a,
I don't have a sheet.
is there anyone that had a public comment? Okay, seeing none, seeing no public comment, no announcements, no executive session, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
David? Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.